I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear the apology. The egg is gone. The pie was eaten. How could you ever, ever back the All Blacks to beat the Springboks at Twickenham? I do recall it was a 9-point win to the All Blacks, you said, and we won't be good enough. Apology accepted.
Mate, I did say we would be talking about the bomb squad this week.
Your negativity astounds me. Okay, we're not going to harp on that. Let's look at the good news. 35-0 on the hour, 35-7. A fantastic statement from the Springboks. And we can get into all the All Blacks lost a prop, All Blacks lost a player, All Blacks lost their discipline. Forget what the All Blacks didn't do. Let's for now focus on what the Springboks did do. Fantastic. Incredible performance from the starting pack. Incredible performance from the 7 who came on. 7-1 bench. Can we see an 8-0 bench with Colby covering at 9 sometime in the World Cup?
Why not?
Exactly.
Why not? Why not? I mean, fantastic performance. Everything that you'd want. All the dessert you could possibly stomach. I think it was an amazing performance. To see the Springboks roll the scrum like that and just go over the top of those guys, I'm not sure we can ever top that feeling. It's just incredible.
Look, I don't know if we'll ever top that kind of performance. So when you see a game like that, I was there, 36-0, Afrique du Sud. Angleterre is 0.
Your Spanish is good.
It's actually French. Angleterre, 0. At the Stade de France in 2007, 36-0. It was a wonderful, wonderful night. And we just pounded them. What I loved about this test match was 41 seconds into the game, they get a penalty. Ordinarily, 48 meters out, they kick to the corner and they test their line out. They took a scrum. Forget the haka. They laid down the gauntlet there and then spent 20 minutes on their try line, defending, losing players for ill discipline, and getting absolutely assaulted in the scrum.
Yeah.
And when that pack of 7 came on early in the second half, it was one of the great sights in world rugby to see 7 of the green machines stretching, Bongi leading the charge. 2 penalty scrums in the first 2 minutes that they were on. Just fantastic effort from the guys. And, you know, we keep on talking about statement performances. We weren't happy at the way, the inconsistency in the Rugby Championship. We did speak about was potentially fatigue in terms of they were trained very hard and the peak would have to come here. 52-16 against Wales. We said it's a Wales C team, but we'll take the performance. The All Blacks put their best 15 on the park to start with. Whether they were at the races mentally or not is irrelevant. You can only beat what's in front of you. We didn't beat them, we beat them up. And 35-7. Zels, we looked at our worst losses. 28-point differential, by the way. If you haven't heard, it's the worst in the All Blacks rugby history. Even though Jeff Wilson maintains they're still a better team and the Boks can't be any better. Got a bit of news for you there, Goldie. We can get better. The point is, 28 points. We used to love those kind of defeats. We thought we had played well.
Yeah, that was a good day at the office not too long ago.
When you look at our track record, we've taken some big ones.
Monster defeats.
57-0 against the All Blacks. Of our top 9 defeats, and the top 8, the lowest is 28 points, and then there's the 33-6 to New Zealand, 27 points. 7 of those 9 have been inflicted by the old foe, the men in black. And our biggest winning margin against them was 17 points back in the 70s, 1970. So in the professional era, we owed them a big double digit.
Agreed.
And that's why at 35-0, I was thinking, is today the day we get to 50 and we give them the donut? If anything, I was so disappointed with that 7 points they scored.
Yeah, I would have loved to have said All Blacks or All Blanks, but...
All Blacks! I like that!
But it didn't happen, man. Didn't happen. So Cam Wilgard came through, scored that great try, and put them on the scoreboard. But I get the feeling in that game, like the scoreboard was almost irrelevant. The Springboks went out there to physically mash those guys. And the victory, I think, was a nice bonus. But the Boks came out there, they had all those kickable penalties in the early first quarter that they usually would have put over and taken the 3 points, and they opted to set up those mauls over and over and over again. And I think that was just to put the All Blacks directly in front of them and punch them in the face, and that's what they did to great effect. So, mission accomplished.
Well, you know, Rassie, and often chatting to him in the past, he always loved to say, take a nice firm orange.
Yeah.
And put it in your palm of your hand. and it's nice and firm, and then squeeze it for 30 minutes without letting up, what does it feel like?
Mushy.
Mushy, pop, like a very poor Narchi. So the All Blacks went from this beautiful looking orange to a very, very unappealing.
Rassie always gives you these great metaphors, man. It's just
Rassie. I mean, everyone said, what genius move could he pull? And Jacques, he's come with 2 packs of forwards. That's the template to beat the All Blacks. Because if you have 2 packs of forwards, it doesn't matter who's wearing 9 to 15 for them. And they have fantastic backs. They just won't get the ball on the front foot. So an incredible, incredible performance. And we played our hand to the world. We've said, this is how South Africa plays. Stop us.
Yeah. I remember in that series against Wales, there were times, at least once, where we had issues with backline injuries. And yeah, we were kind of found out. We had an injury, we had to make 2 or 3 shuffles in the backline. So I don't think the Boks are going to go forward with that. And to be honest, I don't think they need to. Because our starting 8 are unstoppable. And then we've got 5 to 6 guys that we've been playing off the bench to date that, again, just ramp up that power. I don't think we need to really roll the dice on that.
Well, again, I mean, Paul Williams, the rugby correspondent based in Wales, said 7-1 is fantastic till you lose 2 backs in the first 10 minutes. Then it feels like you crap yourself in a wetsuit.
We can all relate to that.
We can relate to that. Every time Zels goes out into the surf, there's that possibility.
Keeps the Sharks away.
It's, again, what's amazed me has been the kind of anger that we've manipulated or somehow kind of bent the rules. The rules say you have 8 substitutes. If you can develop 8 forwards to cover your backs, go play them.
Yeah. If we'd had 3 backline injuries and we'd lost because we didn't have any reserves on the bench, people would be laughing at us. And now it's a problem that we won because we played
and
like
it's happened. It happened in the Rugby Championship last year. We got some early injuries and Jacques said, look, they rolled the dice and it kind of didn't work out. And that's always the risk when you play a 6-2, well now a 7-1.
Yeah.
But I just thought that the Boks certainly have announced themselves. They didn't want to go in under the radar. They have gone in as the defending champions with 2 very powerful performances against Wales and New Zealand. Isn't that what you want of blokes who believe they're good enough to win it and win it again?
Yes. And I think if you have a short-term memory, then the answer is an emphatic yes. And there's no part of that result or that performance on Saturday that is bad. Marnie Libbok kicked his kicks. The forwards completely dominated. Everybody played their part and we recorded a milestone win against the All Blacks. There is no negative to that game. Especially, so that is period. And if you look at the short term, you backed it up with the previous win against Wales, we look well on track. But if you take a step back and you look at where the Boks have been and how they're tracking and how we explained some of those unnecessary losses last year on the end of your tour, where are the Boks now? I still feel like I'm not 100% sure exactly where this team is. If the Boks went into the game against Scotland and beat them by 50 points, I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. And if they go in and they lose by 7, I'd say, yep, we pretty much saw that coming. I'm not really sure where the Boks are. I know they've smashed the All Blacks now.
Well, I know where you are, mate.
But I don't actually
right on the fence.
Yeah, I don't have a bearing on these guys. And that's not a great feeling.
Well, I've got a great feeling about them. Scotland will be we'll get to that obviously before the Scotland game. That's going to be a tough game. But a great kind of tough game because the Scot pack is better than the All Black pack. Their backs aren't as good. And that's kind of where they've come unstuck when they've played a side like New Zealand. They hold them for 60 or they're in the lead on 65. 2 moments of magic and it's a 7-point win to New Zealand or a 12-point win. And that's how South Africa have lost often to New Zealand. 14 points, 21 points in 5 minutes, 3 moments of magic because they got the pull. This time they didn't get the pull in any form of attack and field position. They were put under pressure. They hurried their passes. There was an intensity in their game, but there was also absolutely no discipline, no regard, and no respect for the ball. So how it plays out in the World Cup, and I've said this to many people, at the spa, at my local, and they say, too early, we've peaked too soon for the World Cup. I said, mate, I don't know how the World Cup's going to play out in terms of the bunker, the TMOs and that. If we play 15 on 15 and we don't have any serious injuries, I believe we will win the World Cup and we'll beat France in the final. And I wrote that on Keo, and it's really nice of you guys to share that on SA Rugby magazine. I appreciate that. But let's look at that performance for just what it was. It was 80 minutes of absolute poetry.
Yeah.
Box-style poetry. Dominant up front, physical, discipline, and then the kind of backline that they chose when we had the chance to counter-attack or move the ball, we did so wonderfully. And you look at a player like Kane and Moody, He looks like he's been playing Test rugby for 20 years.
My goodness.
So when you see what Jonah Lomu did, you see what Rapini Kakanibuka did, Joe Roth, Ben Tune, Carl du Plessis back in the day, John Kerwin, David Campese, a Cheslin Colby time. You just think this is a special, special talent. A Pinot. When they've got the ball, something's going to happen. And as we've said, 13 is probably where he's going to end up. But to have that option of him playing at 13, him playing 14 or 11, and at 15, and he's 20 years old.
Man.
He is going to be one of the stars of this World Cup.
Does he start at 13 for you against Scotland?
You bet you he starts at 13 against Scotland, and we're going to get to that. Who starts at 12? Andre the Giant or your mate Damien Dearlandi?
No, my mate Damien Dearlandi.
Based on what?
By a long shot. The guy's a World Cup winner, beat the British and Irish Lions. If you look at the stats from that Lions series, Damien Dearlandi's role in that series victory was massive. The pack basically used him as the guy to get them over the gain line, so they were running downhill. He's a phenomenal force. Andre the Giants had 2 fantastic test matches when we destroyed Australia's pack and we destroyed the All Blacks pack. I would like to see Andre going forward when there's a little bit more parity. Whether that'll ever happen, I don't know, because we're unstoppable at the moment. But I just feel like Damien Dearlandi's the guy for all occasions, all conditions, all occasions.
So Damien Dearlandi's fit. He plays 6 of the 7 games.
Yeah.
And Andre the Giant plays Romania.
I mean, Andre the Giant can play Tonga, no problems. And listen, if Damien goes down, Andre the Giant is no slouch. He's a fantastic guy to have backing up. But if both are fit and healthy,
it's not even a question.
It's not even a question for me.
Damien Dearlandi, all round, far superior.
Yeah.
Then do you go with Moody, just this magical player who's 20 at 13, or do you go back to 55 tests, Jesse Creel, or 50 plus tests, Jesse Creel, because of his experience and he's played in World Cups?
So,
which one do you do?
It's a tricky one, because that Bok pack is creating so much momentum at the moment, and like we've seen recently, that in a way you don't need to be flashy in the backs. You can just win this game by just crushing people to pieces, and Jesse has more experience. So he's less likely to gamble and make mistakes. But the ceiling on Caelan Moody is like a skyscraper. So this guy, I mean, for me, I think this guy could finish up with 100 tests. He's the real deal. But whether he's got the cachet at the moment to be starting at a World Cup in a new position, I don't know. I'd probably roll the dice on Caelan, to be honest.
Well, every time they picked him, Jake picked him at the Bulls.
He steps up.
Jacques and Rassie have picked him at the Box. He just delivers. And he delivers whether at 15, 14, and then now at 13. The calm and the composure that he brings, he's so understated.
It's like boring for him. It's old hat.
It's like he plays that game in slow motion. And one thing in sport, they say all the great sportsmen see the game in slow motion.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, Boki Khaber wrote that he reminds him of like Donnie Khaber in his prime coming through. He has that kind of presence, and I don't think he's got that robustness, but he's got guile, and he's more like a combination between a Christian Cullen and a Joe Roth for me. He just glides, but he is physical and he's strong. I would start him at 13. You pick a guy when he's on a like red hot form. It allows you to pick Cheslin Colby. It allows you to kind of go with a back 3 potentially of Willie LaRue. Where do you include Damien Willemse? What changes would you make, if any, to that 23 that went out against All Blacks and smashed them?
Sure. Well, I mean, so for starters, I would definitely not have 7 forwards. I'd go with 6. I want to see Jaden Hendrickson get back on the field. I really feel like he's the guy that can make the most of that forward dominance. For me, Faf is a guy who's a very nuggety, combative defender, fearless. I'm not sure whether that is exactly what we need when the pack is controlling the game like they are. If you've got Jaden putting perfect box kicks up, I mean, you could just suffocate teams to pieces.
But you know they're going to start with Faf, so that's kind of that's a given. If we look to that Scotland game, of that 23 that played, let's just look at the starting pack. They seem to have settled on now. It's Kitsy, it's Marks, and it's France.
You don't think Bongi goes back to the starting lineup?
I think Scotland. I think Mark starts again.
Okay.
And then they take it from there. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other at the moment, the way they play.
I love the second row. Eben and Sos, for me, I loved it. It was great.
As the starting.
Fantastic.
And Klein and Ergia to come
coming off the bench.
Yes.
I mean, how do you stop that?
The mighty monsters.
Exactly.
And then, who do you pick on your wins? If you pick Kane and Moody at 13, who do you go with your back 3?
I'm probably going to end up saying Cheslin Colby and Kurtley Arendse on the wings and Villy at the back.
And if you don't pick Kanan and you pick
Jesse Creel at 13, then Caden on the left wing and Cheslin on the right.
And Kurtley not in the match 23.
Potentially on the bench, yeah.
All right, and then if you look at the bench, you go in 6-2. Who are your two backs? So obviously Damian Willemse.
Yeah, so I mean, so if we're saying we start 5, then it'll be Jaden. I would have Jaden there, and I suppose Damian Willemse for his versatility, or Kurtley because he can potentially cover a bunch of backline positions and can shift inside.
You would leave Damian Willemse out of the 23?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Come on. Damian Willemse out of the Test 23 at the moment.
He's the guy who would have been starting at 10, but apparently that's not the way we go.
You're as uncertain as you are.
That's what I've been trying to tell you from the beginning, is that I'm not really sure where this team is and what they're trying to do.
But you would pick Kurtley Aronson at 23 on the bench ahead of Damian Willemse. Think about that one.
Yeah, well,
I'm
saying Kane and Moody can shift inside. Kane and Moody can pretty much, what we're talking about is he can play 13, 14. He can cover a bunch of positions.
Are you telling me you would even consider leaving Damian Willemse out of a 23? Yes or no?
That's pretty much where we are. I am considering it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I say, for me, he would have been the guy that would have been starting at fly, but we've done nothing to do that now. So where do you slot him in?
I slot him in either as a starting 15, if something goes wrong with Billy, or he's definitely on the bench because he covers 10, 12, 13, 11, 14, 15, and he can kick.
Okay.
So Damian Willemse will never be out of my 23.
Okay.
It shocks me that he's out of your 23.
Right.
And you want to include Andre the Giant.
Including?
Checking, eh?
Right. You got me.
Got you. Looking at the other teams, okay, we've seen England fall apart. Australia say they're keeping their powder dry. They're not from 5. Eddie Jones, I've never seen a coach to lose and cruise. That should be his tagline. Everything's always positive. He's got all this positivity with kids. He gets all the flack though. They say he destroyed England and he's destroying Australia. Be that as it may, I don't see either of those two sides as being contenders for the World Cup, given they'll go far because of a draw, but they're not going to win the thing.
No, I don't think either of those two teams will win it, but they are contenders precisely for the reason you gave. They're going to be in the Final Four. So anything can happen on the day, a refereeing decision, a red card, an injury.
They just look like they offer nothing. Great win for Fiji to beat them at Twickenham in front of 57,000.
I think Australia are ahead of England, right? In terms of where they're at and how they're playing. Even though the world rankings don't talk to that point, you'd feel like if Australia played England, that Eddie would come up with the win there. Or no? Where are you on that?
I think England wins, okay?
Really?
I think their pack is better than Australia's pack. And I do think Farrell will be at 10. He'll control the game. I know this young kid that you like, Flash Gordon. He's got potential. He's not a World Cup winning fly-off just yet. Maybe he knocks the mullet back. We'll see a different player, but they just don't do it for me at the moment, Australia. I've kind of been giving them the benefit of the doubt. When I looked at all the games leading up to it, and we've got to call it now. Everyone can be wise after the first game.
Yeah, 100%.
And look, it will evolve and change as the World Cup goes on.
Yeah.
Obviously, our opinions may change based on suspensions, losses, injuries. But right now, if you said to me, pick a winner, or pick two finalists and pick a winner based on what you've seen this whole year. As I wrote and was consistent with SARugbymag magazine's poll, I felt that it will be France against South Africa in the final, and I think South Africa will win comfortably. I've been waiting for France to fall over for 4 years, and they haven't. Every time I don't think they've quite got it to win it. They produce very comprehensive performances. Where they have battled a bit is against a side like Scotland. Now, Scotland makes me nervous for the box. I think it makes Fabian Galtey nervous as well. But Scotland hasn't got the team to go and win 3 games in a row and win the thing. They don't have the depth in squad numbers. But they're a hell of a difficult opponent. Good pack, and obviously Finn Russell and Duan van der Merwe are great players to watch in action. So for me, it comes down to South Africa. I do believe that France will have too much for New Zealand on what I saw. Because there's no one better than New Zealand can pick. And they've insisted that Sam Cane is their guy, okay?
Jeez.
So it's the most uninspirational leader that I've seen of the All Blacks. And yes, he follows big shoes, the mighty Macau and Kieran Reid, but geez, limited, very limited in what he offers. So I think France will be too good for them if they can handle the occasion. And I think South Africa will be too good for Ireland, which then throws us a Northern and a Southern Hemisphere quarterfinal. And I think there, France wins and South Africa wins. And 2 of the top 4 teams of the world go home, while the teams ranked 9th, 10th, kind of 8th go cruise through. So I think we're in a hell of a good position. We're settled with our squad. I think Pollard may still make an appearance as the World Cup unfolds. If Army somehow comes through for the playoff games, we'll be even in a better place. But no injuries, our pack firing, looking good, and just confidence. And what I really loved is we haven't wanted to creep into this World Cup under the radar we're walking in there saying we ranked 2 in the world. We could easily have been ranked 1. We were ranked 1 for Friday night. And we are the defending champions. And we're here to win it back-to-back and to become the only team to win it 4 times. Whereas you hear New Zealand's conversation, well, it's maybe a good thing because we can slip in under the radar and we have the underdog tag. When has an All Black team ever wanted the underdog tag?
No, that's true, 100%. You've got France beating New Zealand now in the opener.
Yeah.
So then that means New Zealand probably finishes second in that group.
And South Africa finishes top because we'll beat Ireland.
So we've got South Africa and New Zealand in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
What happens there?
Fuck, obviously we knock them over. Box by 10. Always box by 10.
Okay, and then in the other semi-final, France-Ireland? Other quarterfinal?
Well, if France are playing in the final, mate, they won it, haven't they?
Okay.
If they play in Dublin, Ireland wins. If they play in Paris, France wins.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And where's this been played?
Not Dublin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I see, everyone said there's 5, 6, 7 teams that can win this, and there's only 3 teams that can win it. It's Ireland, France, or South Africa. And I don't think Ireland's got the mentality. The one thing that this Bok team has got, it's the same squad of players who went to Japan and won it. So France has gone to finals, they've gone to semi-finals, and they've never won it. Ireland's never got out of a quarterfinal. So history does count for something there. The edge that we have is we've experienced this whole playoff pressure, and we've come up trumps. And we came up in the most spectacular way in Japan in 2019. When the world was against us, we destroyed Japan, 26-3. A 53-meter driving maul try, which to me was the try of the tournament. We went in and we arm wrestled a very good Welsh side. Pollard kicked a magnificent penalty to take us just over the line, and Damien Delaney scored that fantastic try. England destroyed the All Blacks, threw them around like ragdolls, 19-7. That could have been 40-0 as well, that game. How they got 7 was that overthrow at the line-out, and thought they'd won the final. Joking around in the week, everything was a piss take, the props laughing. South Africa turned it on. Their scrum destroyed, obliterated England in the first 20 minutes, and we showed we could play with them. We brought a new dimension. That 2019 final performance is very similar to what we saw at Twickenham. We can play that game, and that has put the world on alert. Are you still here, man?
I'm listening, mate. It's been a great tale. You've taken me back in time.
It is a great tale because, like we said, we've been pumped 9 times by 27, 28, 50, 40, 30 points differential. We've had some horror days. We've had those ugly moments.
Yeah.
But we've bounced back. New Zealand looks like a boxer that's never been hit before.
True.
And doesn't actually know what to do. When I watched them, I've used this kind of analogy or a metaphor before, but when Anthony Joshua got clubbed for the first time by Ruiz Jr., it's like he didn't seem to know what to do. He's looking at his corner. That's how the All Blacks looked. And that's about how we looked to Mount Smart when they blitzed us. But they don't have the game or the pack to sustain that. And we came in cold in that game as well. So to me, it's like such a good news. It was the best 80 minutes I've given up of my life to watch the Springboks on Friday night. And maybe the tension wasn't there because we knew it was a warm-up game, but I just felt we mentally were switched on to put up a performance to tell the world the Springboks aren't giving up their title. A very good team has to beat them.
Sure.
And we keep on saying this, Zels. We just hope that this World Cup's not decided by the bunker, TMO, inept, a weak match officiating. And I want to ask you on this, and we saw this in this game, we worked to our advantage though. The TMO was in the referee's ear the whole time, calling back, and we got the rub of the green, okay, with a lot of the decisions. But it needs to stop, doesn't it?
No, that's just ridiculous. This takes away from the game. Apparently the first half was more than an hour. I mean, I didn't notice, but apparently it was in that region, and I just think it's bad for the game when we slow it down like that. You know, you may as well go and play rugby league then, or play NFL if you're going to stop the game all the time. In games where I think it was Luke Pearce over the weekend was reffing, and he made calls live, and the game continued, and the speed and the tempo, you can actually get caught up in the story of the game instead of having to stop and go buy some popcorn and come back to see what happened.
Well, if you put everything on super slow motion and keep on replaying, you're going to find a mistake, okay?
Of course.
So unless it's an absolute howler, it's play on. It does balance itself out. I've given my sermon. I've kind of put it on the block. I've said that I do believe, all things considered, that the Springboks will beat France by 20 plus points in the final. And how incredible would that be? The same group of players win by 20 in Japan and they win by 20 in Paris, in France. I mean, that would just be, scripted in Hollywood, okay? No injuries, no red cards, no yellow cards. You give me your quarterfinal, final, and who's going to win it now?
Look, I think the Boks are definitely in with a shot. I think there are major contenders in this thing.
I sense negativity.
You don't need to sense negativity. I think the Boks are there in the SA Rugby Mag World Cup issue, the bumper edition, 164-page bumper edition. We did our predictions on every single match, and we came out with France versus South Africa in the final and the Boks winning. So we said this is how the Boks are going to win the World Cup, and I believe that is totally an option. For me, if they beat the All Blacks in the quarterfinal, they'll win the World Cup.
Do you think the All Blacks are good enough to beat them in a quarterfinal?
Yes, I do think
Why
the All
do you
Blacks.
think that?
Because I think we played in a match this weekend. So first of all, they smashed us at Mount Smart, and historically they beat us. We played in a match this weekend where they lost their starting tight head prop in a front row group that lacks experience. They lost their starting tight head prop in the first quarter. They started Dane Coles, who's not one of their starting hookers. They lost their most physical forward to a yellow card and then a red. They played a 13 men for 20 minutes. The referee, I wouldn't say he favoured us, but we got the rub of the green. And they chose all of that to happen on the one day that we put 7 forwards on the bench. So in a way, it was a perfect storm, I think. And even then, we won by 28 points, right? So fantastic result in a microcosm on its own, fantastic. I'm just not sure that the Boks are good for that the next time we play the All Blacks. And I think definitely going into a match where in the match week, people are going to be talking about this game, saying the Boks delivered a record victory the last time they played. The onus is going to be on South Africa to back it up. Historically, we're not very good in those situations. We like to be written off.
Who do you want? Who do you think the Boks should be playing in the quarterfinals?
If they can get France, they'll win. I would much rather play France.
And if they get New Zealand in a final?
Well, we've only played them once in a final, mate. We're 100%.
Would you be as nervous as you are now? Because you're very nervous about...
I worry about those All Blacks, mate. The dangerous gringos, mate. I think it could get... yeah, they're a good team. Yeah. If we beat them at any stage of this World Cup, we will win the World Cup.
All right. We're going to end off with the Siya Kolisi factor. How incredible was his performance?
Jeez, that guy's something else.
I mean, that guy has... this was the guy who was carrying tackle bags with Heineke Meyer in 2015 at the World Cup.
The missing link.
2018, Rassie Erasmus appoints him as the captain of South Africa and doesn't do it because he thinks I want to have a first black captain. He just appoints him because of the charisma he brings and kind of the calm he brings, and he knows that there's strong, experienced leadership at that stage and the Dwayne Vermeulen's around him. And this guy just thrives and flourishes, and the bigger the occasion, the bigger his performance. I think they had to pull him off on he didn't want to come off, and just the physicality that he adds. And you know, when he plays and captains the Boks and he's first out of the tunnel, they are just a far easier on the eye team than when he's not there. And there is a charisma that he brings, there's a flamboyance that he brings, and geez, he is a guy who was made for Test rugby, not regional or domestic competition. He plays for the big moments, and to have him there, to have him fit and firing, I think has been the greatest thing that's come through in these warm-up matches. Yeah,
and definitely the timing is perfect as well. Like if Siya had been around 10, 15, 20 years ago, the kind of rugby that they were playing, he wouldn't have been a great fit. But his ability to be physical, to be athletic, and to be a link from 6, the timing of it with what's going on at the Boks right now and how they're playing and where they're strong is fantastic. You know, like you saw him unlock for the first try against Wales. Just an amazing player, you know, first touch of the ball and offload out the tackles.
And to get his first try against the All Blacks, his 10th try of his career, and kind of get us on the board, all that dominance, to get the 7 points, and then for us to rock and roll after that. This is the last time, though, that we can chat about permutations, holding back the gunpowder, etc. Next week we chat, we're talking World Cup, opening rounds. Then, no more French City, my man. Then you got to call it, man. You got to call it like it is.
Okay.
And you're allowed to be wrong.
Deal.
I know you took a lot of strain over the weekend.
Mate,
every time you went,
stock price has gone right down.
Every time you went into the mall out in Bloberg, guys were telling you, enough with the negativity. Always great chatting, Zels. Enjoy the week, enjoy the weekend, and guys, get that 164-page SA Rugby magazine. It is a cracker. Everything you need to know, and there's a very cool lacquer, a big chart. You can chart every game as the boys at SA Rugby magazine did, and you can pencil in France, pencil in South Africa, pencil in the 20th of October, start of France. We're going to be there wearing green, and we may have to upset and spoil the party of the Parisians and the whole of France.
Beautiful.
But for now, we've got 6-7 glorious weeks to look forward to. Enjoy this weekend off, because from next week on, it's full on! Box by 10.